Alright, so last night I watched Dune Part 2, which everyone is there was some there I don't know what I'm saying. There was some recency bias as I expected going into it. I don't think it's the best picture of the 21st century like everyone on Twitter is saying right now, but it's pretty good. I'm gonna start off with more background on my opinion on Dune as a whole, and I Denis Villeneuve. So, as a whole, on Dune, I am the first one. I'm pretty neutral to it. I haven't read the book, and I understand the first one is kind of catering a little more to people who have read the book than this new one. But if I was gonna criticize the first movie, I'll say like 4 major events happen in 2.5 hours, and there are like a lot of slow motion scenes that are just people looking at the desert. Yeah, I mean, the guy says dialogue ain't important, but I think that's more important than people looking at the dialogue. Speaking of that, I'm also not the biggest fan of Denis Villeneuve so far. To me, I don't know. He seems like he does, like he's kind of admitted he does prioritize visuals over character building at this point, which works for some people. That doesn't really work for me. And to be honest, in the quote he says, television. I mean, dialogue is for television and books, not for movies. But I will say, in this entire 5.5 hour Dune saga so far, he's made one great character, and then maybe like 3 or 4 acceptable characters, and everyone else sucks. Where we're gonna use examples. Movies like The Breakfast Club can establish 7 great characters in an hour and a half, and then you go look at Tarantino. He establishes the entire cast of characters in the first 10 minutes, which, yes, you can say they're doing different things, but I still think he can go suck a cock if he says that. But I will move on to talking about Dune 2 now, because that's what everyone wants to talk about. So, I agree when people are saying that you have to judge this with Dune 1. It's kind of like Kill Bill. You have to judge the 2 movies together, except this one you might have to judge a trilogy together by the end. And it's like Kill Bill. The 2 movies are different, and in my opinion, the second one has been far superior to the first one. So I don't really have a lot to say about this one. It's kind of hard for me to talk about. It's good on every level, but it's not amazing on any of them, in my opinion. I guess I could also, if I had to complain, I think this one's a little too jokey at points. Like, it's a very serious narrative, and there's it doesn't really do anything. Like, it doesn't really make the movie any worse, but I just noticed there are some points where it's just, that joke was not supposed to be there. And then, like I said, the first one is kind of catering more to people, fans of the book. This one is more catering towards the average watcher. The characters, this just also improves the narrative in a lot of ways. I know Dune 1, the book Dune is kind of more about the world than the characters, which kind of doesn't work for me. It's like, I'm glad in this movie, the characters get more depth, that it's paced well, unlike this one. The visuals are always amazing, because it's Denis Villeneuve. He knocks visuals out of the park every time. It's just really solid all around. Like, the performances are good. I always hate Timothée Chalamet, and I kind of liked him in this movie. So, yeah. But if I want to go on, and if we're going to make examples, so I think all the elements are pretty good in this movie, but I don't think it's doing anything, like, amazing. Like, I don't think it is, like, first place in anything I've ever seen. The visuals are good, but they're better. Blade Runner 2049, that's just to use a Denis Villeneuve example. And if we're going to go to other examples, the score is good, but it's not the best Hans Zimmer score. That, in my opinion, is Inception or The Dark Knight. Although this is maybe third. I'm not sure. Blade Runner 2049, that's also a good Hans Zimmer score. He's made good stuff. So, like, all these elements come together. They make a great movie. But I don't see people are already saying this is to go down as the greatest science fiction movie ever, or like the next Godfather or Seven Samurai, which, I shouldn't be saying this. I should be used to it, because people are recency biased as hell in this current society. So it's pretty sad whenever someone says that to me, which I shouldn't be, because people say that every day now. But as I said, I don't think this is like anything super unique. We've seen things like this before. We've seen big, long, like huge epic sagas based on stories, based on old books that were, well received. Lord of the Rings, which I would say is better than the Dune saga so far. And that's also very hypocritical, how people are calling this movie a masterpiece right now. but they can't. They say, oh, I can't say Across the Spider-Verse is a masterpiece because that movie hasn't finished. This movie hasn't really had an ending payoff yet, so that's just hypocritical. Also, in my opinion, Across the Spider-Verse is better, but we can agree to disagree there if you want. But yeah, I guess I should include this because I thought about it. The Denis Villeneuve ranking so far is 5 Arrival, 4 Dune, 3 Blade Runner 2049, 2 Dune Part 2, 1 is Prisoners. I'm not going to explain why I think that, but I'm going to say that. And for the Dune 2 score, we're going to say decent to strong 8. We're going to go with that. And I think I got everything. Goodbye.